I'm Sherri, a CEO, speaker, coach, and author. As a business leader, I'm on a mission to empower women everywhere to embrace their most authentic self by challenging what you already know, then stretch to consider a different perspective. I share moments with people all over the world who are already on that path and are willing to share that perspective with me. Join me as we transparently consider this. Hey y'all, welcome back to the PrettyGirlsWork podcast, Consider This, where we have conversations that explore how we as women can become our most authentic selves, and where we can share practical tools and tips on how to live that out professionally and personally. Each conversation is designed to help provoke the perspective, to really help us think outside the box and think and consider things differently. Let's get into it. Today, do we have or don't we have a guest today? Yes, we do. Listen, today we're going to be considering something that I think, honestly, we've all spoken about, we've all heard people speak on. It's not going to be a new topic, but the way in which we speak about it, I think, is going to be very new. And honestly and truly, I think that forgiveness is a topic that is sensitive and touchy. But like I said, at the end of the day, today's conversation, we're going to have a different perspective on it. We've been offended. We've been hurt at times. We've caused harm ourselves. And today we're going to explore the conversation of what is truly forgiveness? What is this process of forgiveness? And why is it so hard for us to let go? Why are we walking around with unforgiveness? Listen, our guest today, Melissa. Melissa is a faith-filled creator. She's a blogger that speaks on all things relationship for women. Her heart is to empower us to know and to love ourselves, definitely, specifically in singleness. And really, she's at any stage, but really she just wants you to be able to be okay and be all authentically you. She has a podcast called Discovering Me. I love it, where it talks about topics that have to do with the journey of discovering and truly embracing your most authentic self. So please welcome with me to the Consider This conversation, Miss Melissa Lothian.
Hello.
Melissa, thank you so much for being here. It is such an honor to have you here.
No, thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure to be here with you today, Sherri.
Girl, the pleasure is all mine. Let's get into it, okay? Forgiveness.
Yes.
Okay. Now let me just say, I have heard your podcast, okay? I heard the latest one, the whole journey of forgiveness, and I was like, yes, she is the one to talk about this with me because you've been there, done it. B, because there's some practical steps and tools that you can leave us with. But I really want to unpack forgiveness because it's a process. And people feel like, especially people in the faith-filled area, Christians, and I say that evangelical Christians, people that go to church, that have gone to the altar and cried and then got up and thought it was over.
Yep.
And it's like, it ain't over until God said no. But it is a process,
It is.
Sometimes in the process, it has us feeling some type of way,
Yeah.
And it has us vulnerable, right? It has us feeling angry, uncertain. There's a whole plethora of emotions.
Right.
So let's just hit it. Why? Listen, what is it about unforgiveness that makes us so afraid to deal with it head on when we know at the end of the day, when we do actually forgive, it makes us feel better? Why are we so adverse to walking down the process of forgiveness?
I think I'm not going to say I'm completely over everything, because I think, like I said, it's a process.
It's a process.
Yes. And so I forgive. I'm more freer than I was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, a year ago. But for me, it's simple. We get so used to our pain and our hurt that the just I think the very thought of letting go is foreign because it's become so much of who I am.
Yeah.
The hurt is it's a part of my story, so it's what I
Yeah.
do. I wear it like a badge, and we don't realize, like, a lot of times we think if I drink the poison, I'm expecting them to die, right? So we are actually the ones who are holding on to the pain. A lot of many times, if not all the time, that person doesn't even remember,
They're
doesn't think about it.
sleeping. They are asleep at night.
They are well asleep,
They're
doing
not
what,
losing any sleep.
right? And they've moved on. And the very fact that unforgiveness has so much, it's become so much of who we are
Yeah.
that it's even become a part of culture. Like when we look at culture today, it's that cancel culture. You know
Yes.
what I mean? And so we don't actually want to address the pain. We just want to cancel it. We want to just, we just let go. We don't want to let that hurt go. And so at some point, I really believe that the feeling becomes so normal. And that's why we don't address it.
Yeah.
We don't want to go into that space because we're like, you know what? It is what it is. You know what I mean? I'm
Mm.
hurt. I have this wound, but it is what it is. And so a lot of times, instead of addressing stuff, we say cancel it. Or
Yeah.
we'll say things like, you know what, just forget you,
Yeah.
instead of actually becoming intimate with it. And we were not taught that. And so at the end of the day, I think we like to wear unforgiveness like a badge.
Mm.
And because it's like it's something that, like, just like when I put up my clothes on in the morning, it's something I carry with me. And
Yeah.
so although we feel horrible about it, we don't know how to actually live without that
Mm.
actual feeling.
And it's like a comfort blanket
Yep,
almost.
it's all we know.
I remember a friend of mine asked me, I'm gonna say it in a second, but I remember we're talking about this. We're talking about pain, hurt, how to
Yes,
get over things. And I just said sometimes for some people, the 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 comfort of the wound soothes our soul.
yes.
And I said it's such an oxymoron what I just said.
Sometimes it's so twisted because it's just
It's
like
so twisted.
when you realize there's so much freedom in forgiveness, but it's like if I let this go, I'm letting a part of who I am. When
Yes.
truly it's the opposite. You're embracing more of who you are by letting it go.
And the thing is, when we start doing that, I'm going to forgive. It makes us feel very vulnerable. And in society,
Yes.
vulnerability is seen as weakness. So
Yes.
we connect on forgiving someone as a sign of weakness, when in truth, it
It's
is a
strength.
sign of strength.
Yep.
Because
Because it's not easy. What?
child, girl, this
That it is not easy. People,
it is not easy.
at all. At all.
Okay. And so I guess that would go into my second question is like, what is your actual definition of forgiveness? What would you say? This is a Melissa through single eyes definition of forgiveness.
I have to break it down because many people, I remember when I was first starting in my process of forgiving, a lot of people would say to me, no, just forgive and forget. And for me, that is so incorrect because I don't know about those people. Maybe they've never really been hurt like that. I've been hurt, but forgetting those people, like when you're hurt bad, it's not easy to just let people go.
Mm.
And and so even though I remember the person, I have forgiven. And so for me, forgiveness is both an action and it's a process. And
Mm.
so the reason why I say that is because forgiveness doesn't just happen in a day.
No.
It's not that stuff that you teach. Like when you think about when your kids when you were little, and little Samantha threw sand in your eye, and the teacher would be like, "Oh, Samantha, you shouldn't have done that." And you're like, "Say sorry," and she says, "I'm sorry." And then she looks at you, and she's like, "Sherry, say I forgive you," and you're like, "I forgive you," and then you guys go on like nothing happened.
Yeah.
That does not happen in our world.
Oh no.
That's not what forgiveness looks like. And so we are taught that we move on in that moment, but it's not a moment thing. That's not forgiveness.
Yeah.
That to me is just straight denial that he threw sand in your eye
Yeah.
because you're not addressing it.
Yeah.
And it's like it even reminds me of the times when you would hear that phrase that used to burn me, which is sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. And
Lies
then
all day.
lies all
Lies
day.
all day.
when the truth is words will actually crush and kill you,
Okay.
right? And so forgiveness, when you actually look at it, it should, the process should actually be when she throws the sand in your eye, whether she says sorry or not, it's now making a conscious decision to say, I'm not going to hold it in my heart and I'm going to choose to release you after, and then making that decision, then going to the sink and washing your face.
Yeah.
And that, going back to the sink might take a couple times. You might have to go back and rinse out a couple times. You might go the next day and realize there's still some grains in your eye, but it's a process and it takes a while.
Yes.
So the action that has happened to you takes many trips to overcome. And so I would simply say that forgiveness is the intentional, deliberate, and continuous act of letting go of the feelings and the hurt which are caused by the person that has hurt you. For me, it's regardless of whether they deserve it or even acknowledge the hurt. And that was one of the biggest things I had to learn, that regardless if they acknowledge it or if they even say sorry, I had to make the choice. I had to choose to
So it's
forgive.
on you.
It's
And
on
this
me.
is the thing about forgiveness. There's two things I want to say in regards to what you just said. I'm so sorry to cut you.
It's
But
good.
you said you've got to let go. So there's what I want people to understand is forgiveness is
Yeah.
definitely a choice
Yep.
for you.
For you.
Sometimes we feel like in forgiving someone, it's for them. It's not for them. And that is the trick.
Yep.
Because our feelings are telling us, oh, we're vulnerable,
Yep.
we're open, oh my God, we could get hurt again. That might be true. You
It
might
might
be
be.
able to get hurt again, and life is full of hurt. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is for you. So if you
Yes.
want a better mental health state, and if you want a better heart state, and if
Yes.
you want better relationships that are more fulfilling, more substantive, more meaningful, listen, if you want that, then forgiveness has to be your portion that you choose for you. So I
That's
think
right.
it's the self-love thing. And I think that people don't recognize you
Mhm.
think it's for that person. It's because you love yourself.
That's what it is.
And then the other thing that you said was letting go. Man, it's the letting go for
It
me
is.
because we don't recognize that unforgiveness means we're going like this. I'm
Yep.
going to hold on to this hurt right here, this bitterness. Let me tuck it in here in my heart and hold on to it. Good, good, good.
We pack it in our purses and our wallets like it's a credit card. Like we can't, like it's a MasterCard. We can't leave home without it.
And the thing is, when we don't leave home without it, guess what? Guess what it brings? All of the emotions that
Yep.
went along with it, the anger, the
Yep.
bitterness, and guess what? It'll come through our conversations. It'll come through our attitudes. It'll
Does.
come through our
It
body.
seeps into everything.
So when you say you have to let go, forgiveness is letting go. What I want the audience to hear and understand is that you're letting go of all of those negative feelings that made you
Yes.
feel so horrible.
And that's it. And it's really, because when people say forgive and forget, they're trying to tell you to get rid of the memory. I want your viewers to understand, it's not about letting go of the memory. It's about taking the sting out of the memory.
Come on.
Because forgiving is removing the sting, so that when you think about the person, when you think about the thing, you've released them in such a way that you can see them in person and not want to stab them.
Ay, come
Right?
on.
You can go to the place where you met and you don't feel it.
And it
You
doesn't
can,
mean you have amnesia. I'm so glad you said that.
because a
Your
lot of
memories
times
don't just go
the
away.
memories don't go away, the feelings don't go away. Like, I remember going into arenas where I'd have to, when it came to my ex, and I would be dodging, and I didn't want to go here and I didn't want to go there,
Yeah.
and God was like, look, you need to live your life, so you need to be able to go there and not feel the sting or see this person. Like, I got to the point where I had to say, God, get me to the place where I can see this person and not feel hate in my heart.
Come on. And so the forgiveness,
Yeah.
what it does with the memory is not that you don't remember it. It's just that those emotions that are attached to your memory
Yes.
don't have the same effect on you. This
That's
is
right.
what we want you guys to know
Yeah.
about forgiveness. It doesn't mean you have amnesia. It
No.
doesn't mean you forget.
No.
You never forget.
No. You don't.
It's
You don't.
important for you to remember because you want to make sure that you can measure patterns and character traits
That's right.
against what you've experienced. It helps you actually emotionally mature.
That's
But
right.
what you're not to do is hold on to the pain, the bitterness, the hurt, the anger, the confusion,
All
turmoil,
the
the
things that are
trauma.
attached to it. Yep.
Man.
Because what it becomes is it becomes a tool. And if I learn how to use the tool, I'm not using it against me. I'm using it to help me.
Yeah.
Right? I'm
Yeah.
not bashing myself with it. No, I'm using it and I'm turning it around
Yeah.
instead of using it against me.
Yeah. Yeah. And man, so the barrier that we have as women is we're so emotional,
Yep.
we're highly emotional, and we get we get
It's
all
a positive and a negative.
it's a positive and a negative. We get all upset. We get into
Yep.
the whole thing, and we feel vulnerable. And I know I'm going to go back on this vulnerable thing because with forgiveness, vulnerability is attached.
Yeah.
And you feel open and you feel exposed and uncertain. But the thing I want to say about vulnerability is that on the other side of vulnerability, yes, there is uncertainty. Yes, there is exposure. Yes, there is openness. Now, oh my God, there's an openness. I'm an open target, all of that.
Yep.
But also on the other side of vulnerability is joy and
Yes.
peace and fulfillment
Purpose
and
and
purpose
destiny.
and
All on the other
so
side.
much fulfillment. So it comes all in one, right? It
Yes.
can't just be one or the other. And so if we don't allow ourselves to be vulnerable and say, I'm going to forgive this person, whether they asked or not, I'm going to do it for me because I love me and I don't want to carry these emotions in my parenting with my
Right.
children. I don't want to carry these emotions with me at my workplace. My thing is to overcome that barrier of not seeing vulnerability as a bad thing. How do we do that? Because we see vulnerability as weakness because society says vulnerability
Right.
is weakness. So how
Right.
do we see now vulnerability as a strength?
It's funny because I think unforgiveness is actually where we're more vulnerable. Because for me, unforgiveness is like walking around with a broken leg, with an open wound, because you haven't addressed it. And so you walk around and you're saying, no, no, I'm cool, I'm cool, instead of embracing the healing of
Mm,
forgiveness. And so for me, forgiveness closes the wound. There's more vulnerability in unforgiveness than there is in forgiveness, because when you're not forgiving, you're opened up. You said it earlier, you start walking, you're allowing all these other emotions to affect you. You're angry, you're jealous, you're bitter, you hate, when you walk in unforgiveness. So when you allow yourself to experience forgiveness, you're closing the wound, you're closing the hurt. And I grew up in a Caribbean household, and Sherry, they probably said this in your house too. I remember whenever I was actually physically sick, and I'd say, Mom, I'm not feeling well, and the one thing she would say is, "Go drink some tea,"
oh
as if,
gosh,
as if, as if tea was the remedy for
what is
everything.
it about tea that is the answer to
I
everything?
don't. You know what? It was the one tea. It wasn't like a variety of teas. It was
Mint
go
tea.
drink some mint tea.
Go
What I
drink
don't.
some mint
I don't know
tea.
what healing agent is in a mint tea, but they swore it could
It
fix
was the
everything,
healer of all.
all
Okay.
things. And so we've gotten to the point where we make so light of hurt that we don't even realize when it's actually time to address it.
Yeah.
We're so light with it because we
Yeah.
just figure, I could just, again, brush it under the rug. And so when we actually need to get help in
Yeah.
order to overcome, I think we need to embrace it, that
Yeah.
we need that change to happen. And many people think that forgiving essentially is just saying that the other person can go away. Like, I'm okay, like they can walk around free. And that's not forgiveness. And neither is giving that person the same access to our lives. Because we think if I forgive, I'm allowing them back. And that's not true.
That's not true.
No, because you don't have to give them the same access.
Absolutely
Because
not.
it's not. And so forgiveness is, it's releasing. When you actually look at the actual definition of forgiveness, it's releasing someone of debt.
Yes.
And when you looked at it, as I was thinking about this conversation today, and it was like, why do people get into debt? The reason people get into debt is because what I got from you, I didn't have in the first place. So I'm in financial debt because I didn't have funds in the first place. So I go in debt to you because you have what I need. So
Yeah.
if I am in debt, it's because I lack something. So when I'm giving forgiveness, it's because I'm giving out of what I have, but I can't give if I don't possess it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
said it in my podcast that you were talking about, when I was just kind of going over my journey of what that forgiveness was, and the word forgiveness or unforgiveness is tie. And so when you tie yourself to someone,
Come
that
on, man.
that's what unforgiveness is. So it's like tying yourself. I say it in the podcast. It's like tying yourself to a Ford F-150, that
Yeah.
big truck, purposely tying yourself to the back end of it. The Ford doesn't know you're attached to it,
And drag
and then
you.
allowing it to drag you through life.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I
And
mean?
that is so key. That is so, so key. I've spoken about this before about wounds and infections. Listen, let's just go there for 1 second
Yeah, yeah.
because that's what you're talking about. You're talking about the fact that when you're hurt, we suppress acts. And
Yes.
we do this whole thing. No, I'm good. I'm
I'm
good.
good. I'm
I'm good.
good. I'm
No,
good. You're
I'm blessed and
stalking.
highly favored.
You're stalking people's Facebook and Instagram. Like, what's he up to? Hey, have you heard from John? Like, what's John saying?
I'm
Like,
good. I'm good. Everything is fine. I'm great.
I'm thinking about him.
Please. Thinking about who? And
Oh,
yet truly there is things going on underneath the
yeah,
surface that we can't see. And
yeah.
I said this before. I said if my granddaughter cut her hand, we
Yes.
we have about 4 different first aid kits in this house. We would run, we would wash it off. We would say, "Oh my gosh, you cut your hand." We would put polysporin on it. We would put a
All that stuff.
bandage on it. All of that, all of that. But the minute we get an emotional wound, where's our emotional first aid kit?
We don't
What
got.
do we have in our emotional first? Do we even have
That's
an
right.
emotional first aid kit? Because we need to tend to the wound right away. When we allow it to fester, now it becomes an infection.
That's
And
right.
now it becomes me being dismissive or sarcastic or me getting an angry attitude when you
Yep.
say certain things or you trigger me, I'm about to go off on you and I'm going for the jugular. This is now a part of now my personality when in truth, it isn't.
It
It's
isn't.
just unforgiveness, right?
That's right.
And so how do we start dealing with and start building our emotional first aid kit so that we can start dealing with the wounds right away instead of later on down the road when it becomes an infection?
That's so good. Because, like, really, if we're looking at unforgiveness being a tie, we've got to untie ourselves.
Come on.
We've got to let it. And that's what that letting go is. It's and you said it earlier. Forgiveness is a gift, not for that person. It's for you. It's for you. There's so many medical research that has said that forgiveness actually is healing to your own body.
Literally, like
Literally.
biologically, it
and,
will
and,
kill
and so
you.
we are walking around sick, going, I don't know what's wrong. I've been walking around, I have this headache, or I have this thing, or I have cancer, or I have these things, and it's because we won't let people go. But
Yeah.
how can we pursue? How can I take hold of what's in front of me if I can't let go of what's behind me?
Come on.
I've got to be able to let that stuff go. And it really starts with intentionally saying, I'm going to let go. I'm going to intentionally walk through the process.
Mm.
I'm going to intentionally allow myself. And so when you talk about emotional first aid kit, to me, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Because we need
We
to
have
have
to
those
have
things.
it.
We need
We
to
have
have
to.
those things. And
Yeah.
when I look at, if I were to look at what's in mine, um, one of the biggest thing I need is the word of God. For
Big,
me, it's the word of God,
big
because
time.
that is what centers me. That is where my healing starts, is my relationship and my connection with God. It helps me see things clearer. Um,
100%.
I look at the fact that we have 911. Who's on your 911 call list?
Hi.
Who
Hi.
is on your list? Right?
Huh?
Who
Huh?
is there's a song that we used to sing. I must tell Jesus all my problems. He's number one. I've got to tell him what's going on.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I don't do these. I'm sorry. Like, I love Jesus, and I've been saved a long time, but I don't do these. Oh, God, this. No, I'm like, Jesus. Let me tell you about this
Listen.
person right here. Let me tell you, because I'm not. There's no we thou, and there's none of that. There's no
No.
argument. I don't
It's,
talk King James.
it's
I'm
real
straight
talk.
with Jesus, and
It's
I'm like,
real
look, this is what's up. So he's number one on that call list. But then I know who my supports are.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know who I can call, right? If it's for some people, and some people don't believe in this, they think all I need is Jesus. No, you might actually need counseling.
Hi.
You might actually need a counselor, an actual doctor, because
You might
sometimes the
need a
wounds are
therapist.
so deep.
You might need a therapist.
You
And
might.
that's okay.
It's okay, and I think, especially culturally, we put a stigma on that, like, oh,
There it is.
you go,
That's you. There
oh.
it is.
But the thing is, we are walking around broken. We are leading homes broken. We are serving in ministries broken because we refuse to acknowledge that I might need to go to somebody outside of Jesus to actually get help. And
Mm-hmm.
so we need to know who our support systems, who are the people who are safe, who actually want to be there for us. Not those people that are just there for the tea.
No.
No, no,
No.
no, no,
You've got
no.
to know who you can trust.
Who you can trust.
So y'all, we're building our emotional first aid
We're built.
kit.
Yeah, this is the kit.
So we got the word of God, we got prayer,
we
we
got
got
our emergency
our
contact,
yeah,
right? because sometimes you need to cry. Then we got for me, I'm a writer. So
Journal it
if
out.
you're creative, what's your creative outlet? Maybe you draw, maybe you have. So what's that outlet that you use? Maybe you work out. For me, I like to write. I'll write songs. I'll write a poem. I'll just write a journal. I'll write it out. I need to write it out
Yeah.
because sometimes it's sometimes I don't have any verbal words, but I have written words.
Yeah.
And so I would say whatever your creative piece, your creative outlet is, you need something like that. I'm a worshiper, so music has to be in my kit
Yeah.
because music, it just does
1,000%.
something.
And
I
can I
mean,
just say, can we stick a pin here?
yes,
I know of people that go through some things and they're singing "Woe Is Me" songs. They're listening to all
no, not that stuff, not that stuff.
listen. I need you to, and they think it's therapeutic. Can I just tell you something? Let that bump that. You
Yeah,
need something that is gonna listen. Fred Hammond is my go-to. Fred Hammond is my
let's not.
go-to.
That's a whole
Don't play
different
around
podcast.
with me.
That's a whole different
Don't
podcast,
play old school Fred.
right?
Listen, free to worship that whole album. Okay, when I'm going through something. So
Right?
so I agree. Have an outlet. If it's dance, if it's
Yes,
working out, as you said, whatever it is, whatever your passion is, I would say do whatever you're passionate to do because it fills up your love tank. And when you're
it does.
feeling low,
That's right.
you're responsible for
So
loving yourself first.
that's right. Like even like the word of God says, guard your heart. It doesn't say go ask your neighbor to guard your heart. It doesn't say ask your pastor. It says you. You are responsible for
Yeah,
what flows out of you. So
yeah.
we've got to guard it. And so yeah, when it comes to worship, for me, it's the music that's uplifting. It's the music that will heal my soul. Um, I said I put glasses in there, and the reason why I say glasses is because I need a perspective change.
Come on.
And for me, perspective comes through affirmations. Because when you've gone through some serious hurt, the way you start to see yourself can get real cloudy sometimes. And so
Very sorry.
you've got to come back to your original design. You've
Yeah,
got to go back and say, you know what? I am great.
yeah.
I am good. I am lovely. I
You're
deserve to
enough.
be loved. I
Yeah.
am worth it. And so you've got to go back and do that perspective change. Now, I'm going to say a couple things. Like my next couple things that I'm going to put in my kit may not sound holy.
That's all right.
I'm a work in progress.
This is not a holy podcast.
Yeah.
This
So
is just, consider this, okay?
good.
We're
So
telling you to consider some things,
I
guys.
want you to consider some boxing gloves or something that you can hit something with.
Hey,
Because guess what? When you are hurt bad, sometimes you just need to release something. Okay? And
Jazz,
you may not want to hurt. You
about
may not want to hit that person, but you might want to hit something,
something.
right?
And it's
So,
better than throwing a brick in the window of the car. You know what I'm saying?
right, right.
Jasmine Sullivan,
Jasmine Sullivan, I bust the windows
I would not recommend.
because you ain't trying to catch me.
Got your car. She was upset. She needed some boxing gloves.
She needed some love.
She needed to run it out.
Right, so I that was funny because I actually ended up taking boxing um during my healing process because I needed to hit things,
Yeah.
like I needed to visually see the faces and like knock it out, and that was my release.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I would say is, well, for me at least, is sometimes I need a plane ticket or my car keys because sometimes I need to just remove myself from the
Just go.
situation. I just need a
So good.
perspective. I need a perspective, and it's funny. My during my first journey, I went to Chicago, and as I was in the airplane, God's like, when you're up in the air, the way you see the situation down below is totally different, and so you need to come up to my level to see.
Different
Because sometimes when we're looking in the situation,
Yes.
things don't make sense. But
Yes.
if I allow myself to get higher above the situation, I come at it differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
This
speak
is good.
differently. I walk differently. So sometimes I just need a trip. I need a trip. I need to get away. I need to refocus. I've got to turn off the noise because even in good counsel, sometimes there's counsel that is out of their filter.
Yeah.
What happened to their experience, and that may not be what God's telling you. And
Yeah.
so to really be able to center yourself, sometimes I think just take a moment, take a day,
Yeah.
go to the spa, go
Yeah.
on a trip,
Yeah.
go and just
One
center.
of the things that I'm going to say that I really love about what you said is affirmations. I'm all about affirmations.
Oh yeah.
I think that the reason why I say it is because when you're going through something hurtful,
Yep.
all of the facts may come to your mind. He
Yes.
did this, she did that, and they did, and those are all facts, and it can be disguised as truth.
Yes.
So you may think the facts and the truth are the same, yet and still,
Yes.
I'm going to tell you that they're different.
Yes, they
So the
are.
fact might be that, you know what, he left you or he broke up with you. The truth is you are still good enough for and worthy of love and
Right.
belonging. You know,
That's right.
the facts might be that they spoke behind your back. The truth is you are someone who is still worthy of healthy communication and
That's right.
friendships, right? So we've got to be able to say what
That's
the
right.
truth is and not and combat the facts that
Yes,
we may be feeling, because our facts will inform our emotions,
that's
which
right.
will tell us how to feel, and that's all lies all day.
And that's it. And even if you are on the other side and you're the one who was at fault,
Yes.
sometimes you're telling yourself that you are all these things when the truth is, guess what? Maybe you just made a mistake. Maybe you responded incorrectly. And it's not to say that now you're worthless. It's not to say that you're not wanted. No, it's not to reaffirm yourself and who you really are.
Yeah.
Because you were not a cheater.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You're not a liar.
You made a
You
mistake.
made a mistake. And
Right.
maybe it's going back and saying, who am I? Why did I lie?
There we go.
Why did I lie?
And
What
so
was I,
there's
what was I trying
growth.
what was I trying to hide? Because we lie to hide things.
Yes. Yes.
Am I working out of, because we said it earlier, I can only give forgiveness if I have it.
Yes.
I can only give out of the overflow of what I have. So
Yes.
that means, what am I lacking? Why I would even cause someone else pain?
That's
What am
right.
I lacking? Why I'm doing this to another person?
And then when it comes now, when we get to that part, now we get to start growing. And this is called now emotional maturity.
That's
Melissa,
right.
you could sit here all night and talk
All
about this.
night.
Girl, I appreciate you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much for being here today. You guys heard how to build your emotional toolkit or first aid kit, emotional first aid kit. Build it up and
That's
make
right.
sure that you're going into this new year, 2021, without the baggage and the heaviness and the bondage
Yes.
of unforgiveness. Melissa, thank you for being with us today. We appreciate you so much, Mama.
Thank you for having
You
me.
are the bomb. Where can we find you? We can find you at
You can find me at Through Single Eyes and on the website throughsingleeyes.com.
Awesome. On Instagram as well as on our website. Please go check out her podcast, Discovering Me. It is the
That's right.
bomb. I appreciate you. She also has a YouTube channel. Go check her out. Guys, thank you, Mommy. I appreciate you so much.
Thank
One
you so much
last
for having
thing before you leave.
me. Yes.
We always like to leave people with like a compelling thought, something that, we always like to wrap up and say, okay, so if there's nothing else you remember, remember this. If there's one thing that you want our listeners to remember and the ones that are viewing this to remember about the truth about forgiveness, what is that one thing that you want them to always remember?
It starts with you.
Yeah.
You have to first receive forgiveness for yourself before you can give it out. I can't give it if I don't have it. And so it really starts with you letting yourself go, because a lot of times things will happen and the first person you want to blame is you. You're like, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have trusted them. I did too much or I did too little. You gotta release yourself from the debt first. And once you release yourself from the debt and then you receive that, then out of the excess of your supply, can you then give what others need.
Yay. Thank you, Mama. I appreciate you so much. Mwah,
Thank
mwah,
you for
mwah.
having me. Love you so much.
Love you, honey. Love you so much. For everyone else that is still with us, and I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the Pretty Girls Work podcast. Consider this forgiveness, guys. Listen, it's not easy. It is not easy, but it is necessary if we're going to emotionally mature and get past the pain in our lives. Take the time to think about who you might need to forgive today, who you might need to start the process with, and then build your emotional first aid kit. Breathe, stretch, shake, and let it go. Consider this. God bless.